everybody. Tommy Hawksblood here. I'm bringing a special guest on today, a person from Canada who's a psychic healer. He'll be calling in a few minutes. Just want to keep everybody up to par what's happening in the world today. In Hawaii, where I'm from, we had some incredible light shows in the sky a couple days ago. Turns out they said the government shot some missiles up to test. At the same moment, Russia shot a missile up to have it tested. And there's a lot of stories going on with that, but it was 3 islands saw it. It was quite interesting. That's all we ever got about it, not much more than that. A lot of people thought it was UFOs and things like that, which they would downplay no matter what. But around the world, the Ring of Fire has been having multiple earthquakes. Today it was pretty bad around certain islands where it was up to 5, 6 the levels, but there was multiple ones today. Seems like today was an active day. We go back and forth from being real active one day. So my guest is calling in.
It's Chris.
Hello.
Here.
Chris.
Yes.
Greetings. How are you today?
Perfect.
Well, that's glad to hear. So let's the first thing, you're calling from Canada?
Correct.
What part of Canada are you in?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. How's the weather there today?
It's actually very, very nice. We're starting to get into summer, so it's going to be plus 30 Celsius over the weekend. So.
Well, that sounds nice.
We had the coldest winter on record for the last 100 years this winter, so it was pretty bad.
What about the snow? Is it record high snow too, or no?
It was right up there. The snow levels were, we had a very big storm in 1997, which is probably one of the highest levels. The highest snow we've ever had was in 1962, where people had to leave their houses through their upper level windows.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's start off with you've been in this trade business for a pretty long time. What actually brought you into it?
The old saying goes, one door closes, another door opens. What happened about 8 years ago, my first wife passed away. She had a rare disease called scleroderma. And before I was doing this work, I was in the printing trade. I was doing that for about 30 years. That was my trade. I loved doing it. It was a really good job. When she passed away, I had the opportunity, of course, to retire. 46 years old, I stopped working. So I sat in my backyard and drank beer for a couple months. What happened was I was walking in my local mall and saw a sign that attracted me about muscle testing and foot bath detoxes. I walked in there, started talking to the guy who owns the place, and long story short, here I am today. I got right into what he was doing. I started taking some courses, started researching it, and was very intrigued. And I caught on to it very quickly with what I was learning from him. So that brought me to where I am today. And today I realize that this is what the universe had intended for me to do since I was born. So everything I've done in my previous career, okay, I was a DJ for a number of years. I was in printing, did some managerial work. So everything that I've done has led me to where I am now.
You know, I actually got involved with muscle testing for a little while because I was really trying to find out how real that was. Because I was hurt and I worked for the phone company, and they actually sent me to Florida. I went to Florida and I went to a specialist down there, and they were doing muscle testing for me to see what was wrong. But when I came back to Jersey, where I was working for the phone company, the doctors there wouldn't agree with anything the other doctor said. But it's interesting, but that was many years ago. And I noticed you use a lot of different things in your work, too. What else do you use when you do your work?
Well, I started off with muscle testing, applied kinesiology, pressing on the arm, the body pendulum, and that type of thing. But what I've developed into is using a pendulum itself with a series of charts that I've developed. Now, the work that I do, I call it quantum energy healing, because we're working with quantum energy and we're intending to heal the body. So I've given it that name. Now, the charts that I've come up with are the key to basically the whole thing. Now, when you're working with a health problem or any kind of problem whatsoever, be it spiritual, depression, mental problems, whatever it is, You have to be very, very open-minded to what the problem can be. So what the charts do is they got almost every conceivable possibility within them that I could find the problem within a person. So sometimes it might direct me in a certain way. You have to kind of read between the lines. But with the guides that I have, very, very acute, very, very there for me, very good connection. And they will give me the right route, the right problem to work on within somebody. So that is key. First of all, finding the problem. Universal law says if you identify something on a spiritual level or an energy level and you tell it to leave, it has to leave. So once I find out what the problem is, let's take, for example, diabetes. So, of course, there's probably going to be some kind of problem within the pancreas. So you need to find out what it is, and the pendulum is going to tell me that, whether it's a virus, a bacteria, a parasite, heavy metal, and also a spiritual component. Let's say, like the devil, for instance. Remove the devil from people on a daily basis. It's just something that's there. It exists, and it's part of the problem. So a spirit can be there, some type of poltergeist, could be an ET attachment. Whatever it is, once I find out exactly what to remove, I then use my sacred geometry tools, which consists of a pyramid that I've developed. I call it the Silver Light Pyramid. It's 5 different pyramids stacked on top of each other, and it's loaded up with different crystals and magnets and different sacred geometry. And you can see it on my website. I have a picture of it. It's very unique. It's very powerful. Once I know what to work on, I take this pyramid, hold it over the person's head. If you're in my office, I'm going to hold it over your head. If you're on Skype or the telephone, I'm just going to do the same thing over the camera or the telephone. And just intend that the frequency of these problems that I find goes away. And at the speed of quantum energy, which is instant, the problem does go away. Quite often, people feel a result immediately. It's not going to be the full result. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for things to manifest and clear out. But once that intent is made, the problem is cleared out.
Really, that's interesting. Now, you do a lot of work over the phone too, right?
Yes, 90% of the work that I do is within other people in other cities and countries. Lots of people in the U.S., especially California and Florida, they're very interested in this type of work. Now, if you consider the healthcare system in the States is going to cost you a lot of money to utilize it. My appointments are only $55 a session, probably one of the most inexpensive out there. So a lot of people think, well, you're so cheap, you can't be very good. No, it's not quite like that. When you're doing God's work, when you're doing healing work, it's not about money. It's about helping the person. I'm able to have a low overhead, so I can charge a little less money and still make a living of it and support my family. The grand scheme of things with money, okay, who can afford $50,000 to go for a procedure when you can do it for $55? So a lot of people in the States are into this. I have clients that I work with in the Middle East, Australia, Europe, you name it. I've worked in one city or another around the world.
Now, do you have a website that we can send people to?
Yes, I do. My website is chriskehler.net, and that's spelled CHRISKEHLER.net, not .com. There's another chriskehler.com. I am chriskehler.net.
All right, because in case anybody's interested, please call. All right, let's try to get into the interesting cases that you have of the people that you work with.
Let's go back a little bit. I had mentioned about working with the devil, okay, satanic type of consciousness and energy. I had a lady come into my office. She was complaining of a pain within her right abdomen, more precise, the ascending colon. And she's had this pain for 20-some years. And they took out her gallbladder, took out her uterus, did a bunch of other surgeries. They cannot make this pain go away. So she came in, and I did my testing with my pendulum, and it said that Lucifer is present. I says, okay, let's move it out. She looks at me like, what? I says, just trust me. So I take my pyramid, hold it over her head, and I make the intent that Lucifer leaves her ascending colon. Well, at that moment I did it, the pain went from her right side to her left side. and she looks at me and says, "Oh my God, the pain just moved." I looked at her and said, "Aha, the game is afoot. We are chasing somebody." So I removed this Lucifer consciousness from her entire digestive system, then moved it from her entire body, and immediately her pain stopped. A week later, she had her entire family in my office doing the same thing, moving this consciousness out of their bodies. So there's one really good instance where immediately something happened, and it was a negative energy. It was a dark, demonic energy within her body. Lately, I've done things like helping people with prolapsed uterus, prolapsed bladder, prolapsed prostate, to make an intent to put that area back into its normal position in the body, and then create a ligament or a tendon to hold it in place. And sure enough, it does work. People will feel a difference right away. I've been working with people with diabetes, cancers, you name it, on any level. Law of attraction. Everybody has the ability to manifest something they want within their life. For some people, they try to manifest something and they get the opposite. Well, there's some kind of negative energy within your law of attraction that is causing that to happen. So if you clear out that body, that area of manifestation, all of a sudden things start to come your way a little bit more easier. There's a bit more synchronicity within your life.
Wow. Question. When you say you talk to the pendulum, is it like a voice that you actually hear and communicate with directly? Or is it just...
No, the pendulum will spell things out. I don't hear any voices at all, and I thank God for that, because it would be kind of annoying on a daily basis. So when I hold a pendulum, it's just like letting it swing, and I give it motion. I have a letter chart, A to Z, and it will spell things out. It'll spell out sentences that of information that I need to know. And also, I have other charts with words on it, like the stressors. It'll tell me what type of bacteria, what type of virus, what type of parasite. And you can get very deep into what it is, but ultimately the pendulum just points, and I flip the pages and I follow the pointing.
Maybe you might not know this. Do you know who one of the first people is to make a pendulum with a chart was?
I haven't a clue.
All right, because I've been involved with the Ouija board when I was real little. I met Kreskin when I was 12 and started going to mass hypnosis and stage hypnosis. He put a game out in the, I guess it was the mid-'60s, and it was a pendulum with a circular chart of the alphabet. And then you hold it over and it would spell out letters and words and stuff. The pendulum became much more important later on. I worked with a medicine woman for like 25 years. She was the first person in the United States to teach about crystals. And I needless to say, I worked with crystals for that many years, but a lot of times people started using crystals on a chain as a pendulum. And one of my best friends uses a pendulum too. It's just amazing how much that took off, and the Ouija board kind of went into the woodwork. People fear that the Ouija board brings demons in. And even that alone, I just think people have to realize what your intention is of what happens.
Exactly.
Pick up a pencil and paper and start writing, and you can call in demons or you can call in angels. It's that simple. But no, let's get back to you. Sorry about that. But in your travels, do you actually leave Canada much to do work outside of Canada?
I have an office in Winnipeg in a holistic healthcare center, and I do not have to leave whatsoever. It's a beautiful thing with technology, with Skype, with the telephone. It is so easy to contact people in other countries. Like I said, Kuwait, I have a few clients in Kuwait who benefit from this very much, and it is so easy to talk to them. So you don't have to leave the country. I assume that probably in a year or so I may be doing some lectures or doing some training with people. But other than that, I've got a little family. I've got a 3-month-old daughter. I got a 2.5-year-old boy. I really like staying in Canada right now. So as of yet, I'm just going to stay right where I am.
Well, that's great. I mean, if it works for you, that's all that matters. If a person calls in, how long do they have to wait to get an appointment? Are you booked solid a lot?
Generally, because this work works so well, people don't have to come back 15 and 20 times, maybe 3, 4, 5 sessions, and a problem is generally dealt with. So if you were to contact me today, I could get you in next week for, let's say, Thursday or Friday. I'm usually booked up for the whole week on the Monday of that week. So if you call me today, I could easily get you in the week after, not a problem. And that is the beautiful thing. I don't want people to have to wait 6 and 8 months for an appointment with me. You're calling me because you need me now. I want to see you now. A lot of people who want that backup of people, there's a lot of ego involved, and they'll create a schedule that says that you have to wait so long. That means I'm that good. No, I don't believe in that at all. I believe in, if you need me now, I'm going to be here for you now.
All right. Let's go a little bit deeper into your life. Because for me, I'm a hardcore person. I really like to know a person inside out, especially if I think about going to them for healing work or work with them. My partner is incredibly sick. She has multiple things going on with her. She's on almost every medicine. She could be on the list for a kidney transplant, but she'd rather not go for another operation like that. She had so many, and she's in pain constantly. She's on every herb that there is, like I said, also every medicine, and she's constantly in pain. It's pretty sad. I mean, she's a Buddhist. She's actually a Buddhist Lama, and she's in meditation a lot and all that. But she really can't do the thing she wants because she never knows when she's going to actually completely collapse where she can't move. So yeah, I know she's not like too open to things. I mean, she's pretty rigid. She's a solid Buddhist. I mean, that's her belief. But I'm always looking for any solutions that I feel that might help her take a step out of that.
What's her name?
Her name, her Tibetan name's Namgyal. Namgyal.
Okay, where is the most resistance within Namgyal's body? Let's check right now and see what's going on. Okay. Where is the most resistance within her body?
It's really it's two places, her lower back and her knee. Let me just say this real fast. She had a lot of stuff taken out in her female section.
Yes.
She had 3 serious accidents. And her leg was broken for a year while she was in meditation, and they didn't even realize that until a year later. Then they supposedly told her to keep off of it for a month, and now
what is causing resistance in the entire body? So something going on in her entire body. What is causing resistance within her entire body? Okay, just give me a second here. With the pendulum, it does take a little bit of time. You want to make sure you got the right answer and it's swinging to the right answer. Anybody can get the wrong answer with a pendulum. We want the right answer. Okay, what is causing resistance within her entire body? Here we go. So her body has got an excess of iron. So her body is called hemochromatosis. So the iron is building up. She is not absorbing iron properly. Is she vegetarian?
Well, believe it or not, one of her lamas told her that she should actually start eating meat now. And
what happens with iron buildup? Now, two of the biggest things I work with the most people with health problems like that is excess of calcium, which is a killer. People who are taking calcium supplements, you got to think twice about that and start taking silica instead of calcium, because silica helps the calcium to absorb. Magnesium and vitamin D also work, but you need silica. Okay, now when there's an abundance of iron in somebody's body, so obviously the iron isn't absorbing into the red blood cells properly. And there's a component called copper, which helps iron to absorb. So I find this in a lot of people who don't eat red meat, is that they are low in copper, which helps the iron to absorb. So of course your body is smart and says, I need all of this iron. My red blood cells are deficient. So it's going to start to store it in different places, the liver, the blood, the uterus, the brain, wherever. And wherever it gets stored in abundance, you're going to have a problem. What she needs to do is to either start eating some red meat or take a copper supplement, and also she needs something to help pull all of this excess iron out of her body, and the mineral molybdenum does a very good job at that. Or we could just do some energy and intend for all of the iron to leave her body. But that is the basis of what's going on. And when iron does build up, especially in the bones and the muscle, it is going to cause pain. There's no doubt about that. Same with calcium, same with other heavy metals. So that seems to be what is going on here.
Really, well, I really appreciate it. Like I said, I will talk to her and see what I can get her to do, because it's hard. I mean, she used to go to India every year, and she spent months there at a time, and her spiritual path is her life, but a lot of times now she can't go to certain things because suddenly she collapses and she can't even get out of bed for 3 days at a time. So yeah, I will work with that too. For me, I've been around so many spiritualists in my lifetime. I was working with one of the top psychics when I was 14 years old in the mid-60s. For a couple of years, I got involved with the occults and magic and everything else. But I found my way into spiritualism and started searching out many different paths until I came into where I'm at now. But psychic abilities, do you think a person can learn them, or they're inherited?
I think for the most part, everybody's born with a psychic ability. We all have what we would call coincidences, where, let's say you have a song in your head, all of a sudden you turn the radio on and there's a song. So we all have these what we call coincidences, or a little bit of intuition here and there, or that type of thing. We all have it. Just some people learn to develop it. Sometimes we awaken a little bit to it and realize that it's something more than coincidence and start using it a bit more, doing things to open the third eye and to connect with your spirit guides and to get answers, more information, more downloads coming in. I don't think you can really learn it because it is all within us anyway. It's just a matter of awakening it and putting it to use.
Now, for you personally, do you consider yourself a religionist or spiritualist? What word do you use for yourself?
My last name is Kehler. Brought into a full Mennonite family in the we call the Bible Belt of Manitoba, which is Winkler Morden area. I was born into that. My father's one of 12 kids. My mom is one of 17 kids. Big families, big Mennonite religious families. Ever since I was a young boy going to church, I just felt so uncomfortable. I didn't want to be there. I just couldn't stand going to church when all my family's looking at me going, "What's wrong with you? You're supposed to go to church. Something is wrong with this boy." And I realize now that that reason I didn't feel comfortable is because of where I am today. Religion, I feel, is completely 100% man-made. Okay, there's all these different religious aspects, Catholicism, Mennonite, Lutheran, all these different types of religions are out there. I'm not saying stop doing religion or stop doing what you're doing. My personal opinion is that there is always some kind of dark content to a man-made religion. So I consider myself spiritualist. Now, I've gone to a spiritualist church where I don't believe everything that they talk about. So I consider myself a self-spiritualist. I have my own beliefs. I know the way things work within the heavenly realms. I work directly with Christ and God, directly, and I get messages from them every day. I talk to them, and they talk back to me, and they give me advice, and they give me guidance. Jesus teaches me every day different things. He'll even reprimand me if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm distracted from what I'm doing. I'll get a reprimand. So I have a really good idea of the pecking order within heaven. I always go back to the saying, as above, so below. Okay, whatever's going on down here on earth is going on up in the kingdom of heaven. So there's the same type of red tape. There's the same type of pecking order, the whole thing. So myself, I call myself a self-spiritualist.
I use the word for myself, realist.
Okay.
My life's based on everything I experienced and I came to learn. Now, did you work with your past lives?
No, I haven't really gone into my past lives yet. Whenever I do testing on myself, and that's the sign of a really good healer, is if you can work on yourself. My past lives seem to be in order. Nothing ever really comes up from them. Of course, everybody does have a past life issue, but for me, they don't seem to be causing me any kind of problem, so I just leave them alone.
Well, just for me, I went through most of my past lives from Atlantis all the way up to now. But what's interesting is I was a female when Jesus was alive. Mary Magdalene was my closest friend, so I got to be with Jesus the month that he was killed, and saw his true teachings, because none of his true teachings are in the Bible, which is pretty amazing to me. But let me just take a 2-minute break, and I'll be right back.
At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session, so location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm, welcoming, and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information, as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high-vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
So, like I said, for me, reincarnation was an important thing. Not that I had any really dramatic things that I had to come into this world to pay off karma, and I actually chose to come back in this lifetime. But where you are, it seems like you're in a perfectly balanced state, which is incredible, because that's the best place to be, and that's the only place you can actually work from and do it in the right way, which I would say. And when you mention certain things to me, it just proves to me that you're coming from the most honest place, because I told you I dealt with many psychics, and most of them come from ego and money, and that's not a place where you can do any kind of spiritual work and do anything good from it, and then expect to get anything back from it either. And your price, I talk to psychics, and they charge up to $500 for a half hour. So yeah, it's amazing what people think they're worth or expect to get from what they do.
How much money does a person really need to make, for crying out loud?
It's mind-boggling. And for me personally, I'm working on, I go into Oprah's show. She has Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle on all the time, and I've been leaving messages there. I said, how much money does a person have to make? Like you said, to be okay, to be a spiritual person, to work from that level. And when you have all that money, you claim to be a spiritual person, but you keep the money. You don't help nobody. I can't see how anybody with a lot of money, I'm talking a real lot of money, could sit there with it in the bank and know that they're going to die somewhere in the near future, and that money's just going to be sitting there in the bank. When
they think they can take it with them.
Well, whether they believe that or not, it's pretty kind of a weird thing. And it's not like they have, I mean, certain people don't even have family that they're going to leave it to. I mean, unless you talk about a dog or a cat or somebody like that. But again, for me, if I came down with $1 million tomorrow, I would open 3 children's homes in wherever I live and start working with children. I think we overlook children in the greatest way. We talk about how much schooling is, but schooling is not the answer for helping children become everything they should be. I think spiritual teaching and truth that we offer, as when we become aware of it, is when they're little, and to build that foundation within a child, because other than computer games, they have no no truth, no understanding. And what I use, which I had when I was little, is a role model. I mean, role models now are Captain America, Spider-Man, or a football player or a baseball player. I don't hear anything outside of that as a role model by the children I talk to and people that I work with. And it's pretty scary. But in your field, do you find you're getting a lot more younger people, older people, or is it just the same?
A fine mix of everything. You know, it's mostly people with between, let's say, 30 and 60. Now, I do get quite a few parents who bring their children in. Their children will act up, and let's say a child who has an imaginary friend who is telling it to do bad things. Well, we all know what that is, and, you know, people will bring their children in. I'll remove all this demonic stuff from them, and things will smooth out in their life. ADHD will go away. Certain habit or bad behavior will stop. So a lot of children, yes, I do see, only because they're so innocent, that all of these bad energies can get into them very easily. Older people, well, there's not a lot of older people who are open-minded enough to come in here. I've got a few elderly people who I do work with. The baby boomers, people in their, you know, later 40s are starting to awaken a bit more and realize that there is validity to this type of work, and they feel that they can trust me and come in and I'm going to help them.
Wow. I have a lot of things going on in my life as far as when I work with children and people. I was involved with hypnosis, but when I was younger and learning hypnosis, my person that was teaching me I was a magician too at the time. And he was asking me magic tricks because he said when he works with children, it's really hard to keep them focused. And you can't hypnotize a child if they're not staying focused. So what he would do little magic tricks to keep their mind focused on that while he hypnotized them. But working with children to me, again, is still like a very important thing now because adults seem to like fall short in what we teach our children, what we give our children. I mean, yeah, you can buy them a computer and everything, but that doesn't help them spiritually and connect to things that they, even like things we do nowadays is taking us so far away from mainstream. We used to go have the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Sea Scouts, things that children did. And now it's just they sit in their room and sit on their computer. We're putting them in this space, and parents seem to like don't care, and then they expect schools to give children everything they need, and then they want their child to be a perfect person in the real world. But the world needs a healing. The earth, it needs a healing. The mankind's destroying that. There's so many things that, like in your field, when you do energy work, you're working with so many things. We've got to give back to the earth, got to give back to spirit, got to give back to some things instead of just keep taking. And nobody even looks at that level of it. Well, I'm a super spiritual being, I'm one with God, and I can do anything I want. And we're kind of stuck in that place. But for you, everything that you that I heard so far is incredible, and there should be more people like you out there because the world does need healings, and people do need a lot of work if they're willing to look at it. I mean, if they're so into their ego, obviously they're not going to go out of their way to find somebody to help heal them. But no, I'm just glad some people are aware. We can only help those who want to help themselves.
That's correct. There's so many people who look at what I do. You know, my wife has a lot of good friends, and they've got some severe health problems. And I just look at them and say, hey, listen, you're a friend. I'm going to work on you for free, so let's fix this. No, my doctor's doing quite well, thank you, as they double over in pain. People do have to awaken to the fact that the spiritual component of our life is much more greater than the belief system set in front of us in this third dimension little tunnel that we mostly live in. You know, the doctors, they're going to give you a pill that's going to work. They're going to do a surgery and take something out of you that's going to work, and then it doesn't. And then they go, oops, sorry, I was wrong. People do need to awaken, and it is happening more and more and more. Winnipeg, where I live, is one of the most conservative cities in the world. I have to tell you, if I was to rely on Winnipeg to keep my business going, I'd have to shut down because people just have not awakened enough in this city. Again, the United States, Europe, Middle East, people are awakening. People in the Middle East full Muslim people are starting to learn how to use the pendulum. They're having courses out there, and there's a lot of women who are learning to use the pendulum to try and correct behavior within their husbands, because they're so overpowering and they're so demeaning at times and abusive that they're trying to make changes. It's amazing how many people are actually trying to do energy work within the Middle East.
Well, I have a friend. He's one of the top card readers in Japan. I mean, he's in Hawaii, but he goes to Japan like every other month for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, doing different courses for card reading, and he does his own setup. He has a figure 8, and all the cards are based on that 8, what cycle you're in and everything. But it's all about a person learning to read and create what they read. And he's one for saying you got to create it too. You just can't say, well, here's what it is. You create the boundaries that you're creating within your life. So it's interesting that around the world people are waking up. But did you ever, just a place in particular, like, did you ever go out towards Sedona?
I was in Sedona a couple of years ago. Now, oddly enough, you think, Sedona is the hub of energy, and there's all these vortexes and things are going on. I did find that there was a lot of ego in Sedona. I talked to a few people who do healing stuff, and I tried to talk a little bit about my work, and I brought some of my small energy tools along, just to say, here's what I have to offer, and they all kind of looked at me like, I know what I'm doing, get out of my way. And I was really floored by some of the reception I got from some people out there.
Well, that's funny, because when I went out there, I was involved with UFOs and everything else too. I still am, but when I went out there, I went out to meet a specific person out there who's one of the top people in the UFO world. Did multiple books on it, and they have a center where they show you the UFOs when they come in, where they crash and things like that. But what you're saying, the problem is when Sedona started building itself, the rich, egotistical people started moving there. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I would say the biggest percentage are more into themselves than anybody else, and the money-wise and everything else. It became a money-making capital of the United States for psychics claiming to be opening up a center, and if they could open a center, they could make tons of money. But even the vortexes out there, they're not as powerful. Jersey has one of the most powerful vortexes in the United States. Tesla worked there. I mean, the UFOs came in and out of there for 9 months straight. I worked up there for a couple of years doing UFO work. So, yeah, when people say, well, this vortex, everything to promote Sedona, to get people there, to get them on tours, to get them into all their health shops. But you're right. When somebody comes out with ego, I would always say, ask them how much they charge right off the top.
That's
they
right.
Say $200, $300, $400. Well, yes, their ego's a little bit bigger, because any spiritual person would say, look, how much can you afford? I mean, when a poor person, a starving person's sick, when they come to you, well, can you have $500? I mean, it's not about money, and spiritual people know that, but I guess egotistical people don't.
That's right. My full intent with the work I'm doing is I've got some other projects on the go. I've got some other investments and products I'm developing. Eventually, I want to be able to survive off of those investments and products and do the energy work for free. This is God's work. Nobody should have to pay for it. But I do have a family to support, so I have to charge a little something. But eventually, nobody's going to have to pay for this.
Do you have any of the products out already?
I've got a lot of the energy tools that I use on my website that you can purchase, and they're very inexpensive, and they do work. They're incredibly strong energetically. There's a neutralization ring and a sun ring, some pyramids that I carry. One of the products I'm developing is a form of monatomic gold water. And there's a lot of buzz about monatomic gold water and the properties it has and the healing capacity it has. What I'm doing is I'm taking already monatomic water, single atom water, ionic water, and charging it with different energies to do the same thing without having any of the byproducts that used to remove the enormous gold monatomic component from whatever you're taking it out of. So this is pure energy product, and I've been trying it with a lot of people, getting a lot of really good results. Another product I've developed is a spray, It's based upon a spray and smudge products that you can buy out there. You spray it on your body or in your office or on some furniture where you have some negative energy, and it'll dispel it very quickly. It's a very strong product. I've developed those two, been doing some research with them, getting some really good results, and I'm just waiting for some labels and products, and I'm going to put it on my website and start selling it.
Wow, that sounds great. I wish you the best with that, because everybody has to make a living, and that's obvious. Right. But there's a limit to how much you need to make off of one person. Now, me personally, I'm giving my first 2 books away to anybody that wants to read them. I'm finishing up my 4th book. When I get it done, I'm really hoping to put it out there free, because I just feel it's information that people need, not about making money, not about anything else, just information that people need to be aware of. And the title of my book is going to be Spiritual Suicide of the New World, because of what's happening with children in the planet. And people say they can blame anything they want rather than blaming themselves. We are what we are. We are what we create. And when you sit there and blame everybody else, I could tell you multiple things Jesus said, but he was talking about if things aren't right, you change them. But you have to live by what you create. And if we create a horrible system and we live by it, we don't create anything better than that. So it's the people have to wake up to being aware that, hey, the system can be changed if we agree that it needs to be. Rather than, and here's what I see is the serious problem to the world right now. We're slowly eradicating the word moral. I don't think children even know what the word morals mean. And if you ask them name 10 morals, I guarantee they couldn't. And it's sad, because as we move forward, we think science is the solution, and technology. And the way I word it, it's all about the bigger the toys man creates. Start off with little things, and now it's just bigger cars, bigger ships, bigger planes, bigger rockets, everything to play with, better computers. It's not about even being a spiritual person or connected to the light and sound, or being in a space where you, like you said, you can feel the energy and work with that. And to me, that's 1,000 times more important than going to school, anything you learn in school, and what anybody else is going to teach you. Do you get involved with, which I would use different words, soul travel, astral projection, out-of-body experiences for yourself?
Oddly enough, no. I'm not going to say no, but not that I know of. A lot of people would think, okay, I've got to be very sensitive, and I probably do lots of this astral traveling and projection and stuff. I'm extremely, extremely grounded. When I sleep, I don't really dream much, so my pendulum tells me that, one night I was in the kingdom of heaven doing this, and I was in this dimension doing that. Possibly, okay, maybe, but as far as knowing that I'm astral traveling and doing different things, I really have no recollection of anything like that. I do feel energy at certain times when I'm getting a download of information and knowledge. I feel tingles through my body, different things. If I'm working with a spirit and it's going through my body, I can feel all things like that. But as far as the astral projection, to me, as far as I know, it hasn't really happened. If it has, then I just don't know about it.
Well, that's interesting. I don't even use the word astral projection. To me, that's such a limited thing. I like the word soul travel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I spent many years doing it. And then one day I met this I call him my little shaman. I was working in a phone company. I went in at this shop, fixing a phone line, and this guy was selling crystals and different things, and I started talking to him. And we talked about leaving the body, and he goes, well, if you leave the body and it's so incredible, why are you back here? And it took me a week thinking about that. And I said to myself, well, I know I can do it. I know all about it. I am here now, so now it's time to stay in my body and be aware, serve out my time here. And yeah, I changed my life after that. But it was interesting. But I did become aware of multiple things, which for me was important. But each of us, if we look inside ourselves, we find our own truth. We find what we need to do, like you're doing. Mind if I ask you how old you are?
52.
52. I'm 61. So, I mean, you've been doing it, you've been involved for a while, you're a little more grounded, you're definitely grounded, and you have a lot more knowledge than younger people do, that's for sure. So, before we go any further, how about you just go over your website and tell people how to get in touch with you. Do it slowly so they can write it down if they're listening.
Yes. So the website is chriskehler.net, CHRISKEHLER.net. My email address is CKEHLER100 at shaw.ca. If you email me today, I will get back to you today. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Most people think I send emails back to people the same day that they send them. They go, "Oh my God, you got back to me so fast." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? What's the big deal? I'm in business. I want to help you. I'm going to get back to you right away." That's the way I work. That's the way I do things. I have about 100 different videos on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and do YouTube/Chris Kehler, you're going to see all my videos. I've got all of my different videos on there, all the different radio interviews I've done. I've done many, many of them, and you can go into the archives and get an idea of the work I do. You can see demonstrations of the tools I have and how I use them and a lot of my philosophies on different subjects. Lots of information there. You can get a feel for myself and for the work I do.
Wow, that's great. I mean, we have a few minutes left. Is there anything specific that you'd like to get into?
Lately, a lot of work I've been doing has been doing soul work. So what I've discovered is by you working within the well of souls, or the seat of the soul, which is located within the hypothalamus in our brain, it reconnects us with heaven. It's like a grounding to heaven. So for a lot of people who may have had a very big concussion, a lot of trauma, emotional, mental, physical trauma in their lives, this connection can be broken off. And by reconnecting that, it seems to make that big of a difference within our bodies and everything that goes along with what we do. It works great with depressions and anxieties and also different addictions. It makes a big difference.
Wow. I really appreciated having you on today. If in the near future you'd like to come on for a longer period of time and work with some people, we can do that too. That's your choice. I always leave it up to the person that comes on to make any decisions like that. But it was like so great having you, and for me, it's a pleasure to see somebody out there doing good work that's really helping people, that's not out trying to take everybody's wallet out of their pocket and giving them something in return. So how long did you have your site up now?
It's been up for a few years.
Oh, okay. So then
Yeah.
it's an active thing, and when you get your products up there, I'm definitely going to go check it out. I made something interesting. I saw these people, they came from Iraq, and they were talking about the energy crystal, energy box that they're selling and telling people how to make. Basically, you take a bunch of shells and you stuff it with shells, and you put hair and DNA things in there, and then you seal it. But what I did, I took a shell, a big shell, put half of my altar inside it, and sealed it. I put a coil around it, put a magnetic field around both sides of it. Now I'm still just about done with it. The medicine woman I studied with says don't work with anything until you actually stay close to it long enough for the vibrations to adjust to yours. And then you really can start working with it. So I've been still creating it, but I mean it has almost every artifact known inside it. It has one of the oldest rocks on the planet there. It has 2 meteorites. It has crystals. It has a tooth, a feather from every known species, eagle, hawk, bear. So yeah, the energy in it is incredible. And I only let about 2 or 3 people hold it once so far. And they were totally blown away. I mean, I brought it down to the ocean. I put it in the ocean, cleaned it off. So yeah, it's my tool, but it is heavy. And I thought about if I had to fly, it's about, I'd say about 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So even to take it with me would be maybe a project. So I mean, if people came to me in Hawaii and stuff, it would be a tool that I would use. But not that I would bring it on the plane with me. I'm still debating that part of it. because sometimes they'll say, well, there's something inside this. I mean, I brought a crystal, a sand statue, and they said, what's inside it? I said, sand. And they go, how do we know that? Well, you x-rayed it. And they were ready to do something. I said, well, break it if you have to. Do what you have to do, but it's just a sand statue. And luckily, they gave it to me. But customs now is becoming a real project, especially if you go through any kind of crystal devices and stuff. Our time's running out, so it was I really appreciate you having you on. Bring you on again. So thank you so much for coming on.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.